Sweet home Alabama. Cotton fields stretching to the horizon. College football on a Saturday afternoon. Barbecue smoke drifting over small-town main streets where strangers wave from rocking chairs on wraparound porches. The tourism boards sell it as a warm, affordable slice of the real America. Sounds lovely, does it not? But beneath those magnolia trees and charming front porches, Alabama is hiding places that defy rational explanation. There is a fictional town that was never meant to exist, yet it still stands, rotting on a private island. There is a furnace where 47 men died, and the foreman's ghost still screams from the second floor. There is a half-mile road where 68 people have perished since 1890. There is a playground built on a cemetery where the swings move on their own after dark. And there is a hole in the ground that refills itself every time someone covers it, and it has done so since the Civil War. Hit that subscribe button. Now, let us begin. Number 15. On Jackson Lake Island in Elmore County, about 15 miles north of Montgomery, there is a town. A main street. A church. Houses with porches. Shoes strung between posts. Spanish moss draping every surface. But no one has ever lived here. This is Spectre, the fictional town built as a film set for Tim Burton's 2003 movie Big Fish. It took 6 months to construct. The buildings are plywood with no interiors. The cast included Ewan McGregor, Albert Finney, and a 10-year-old Miley Cyrus. The production budget was $70 million. Here's the unsettling part. Burton's designers deliberately distressed the buildings with chemicals. The final scenes filmed were of the decayed version of Spectre. So when the crew left, the town already looked like it had been abandoned for decades. That was over 20 years ago. Nature has since taken over where Hollywood left off. You can visit for a few dollars. But once you step onto that silent main street, you are standing in a place that was built to look like a memory. And now it has become one. A town built by Hollywood and abandoned to the swamp is unsettling enough. But what about a town that was once the capital of an entire state? Number 14. In Dallas County, just outside Selma, lies Old Cahawba. In 1819, this settlement was carved from the wilderness to serve as Alabama's first state capital. Roughly 3,000 people called it home. Cotton made it wealthy, but the rivers that brought prosperity also brought flooding. By 1826, the legislature moved the capital to Tuscaloosa. During the Civil War, a cotton warehouse on the site was converted into a military prison holding 3,000 Union soldiers in catastrophic conditions. After the war, the population vanished. By 1876, most buildings had been dismantled. Today, only 2 structures remain, alongside cemeteries with unmarked slave burial grounds. Visitors who walk the original street grid at dusk report hearing disembodied voices and the laughter of children. Orbs of pale light drift near the graves. Somewhere beneath the grass and river silt, the bones of an entire capital city lie waiting. A capital city left to rot carries heavy weight, but the next location was abandoned because the people refused to let progress through their front door. Number 13. Bellefonte in Jackson County was incorporated in 1821 as the county seat. It was a thriving community, with a courthouse, post office, church, lawyers, and doctors. Then the railroad came. The citizens refused to allow it through. The depot was built miles away. Businesses closed immediately. The Civil War finished what that stubbornness had started. The town was burned and never rebuilt. By the 1920s, Bellefonte was deserted. Today, only a cemetery with graves dating to 1826 and a single chimney from the old inn remain. In a twist of irony, the government later chose this area for a nuclear power station. It was never completed either. 2 ambitious projects on the same patch of earth, both abandoned. A town that refused the future and paid the price is a cautionary tale. But the next location tells a far darker story. Number 12. In Northport, across the river from Tuscaloosa, stands Old Bryce Hospital. It opened in 1861 as Alabama's first mental institution. The Jemison Center served as its segregated annex. During the segregation era, able-bodied African Americans were admitted and forced into field labor under the guise of treatment. Patients endured lobotomies, insulin shock therapy, and electroconvulsive procedures. The buildings have been abandoned for decades. Windows are shattered and vines consume the brickwork. Visitors report hot and cold spots, objects moving on their own, shuffling feet in empty corridors, and doors slamming shut when there is no wind. Some have glimpsed a white coat disappearing around a corner, as if a doctor were still making rounds in a hospital that closed a lifetime ago. An asylum built on cruelty leaves traces no amount of time can erase. But the next location involves a single road where 68 people have died. Number 11. Jack Cole Road is off Highway 7 in Hayden-Blount County, about 40 miles north of Birmingham. It is half a mile long with very few houses. Since 1890, 68 people have died on it. A cholera outbreak at a hospital on this road around 1900 claimed many lives. But cholera does not explain the deaths that followed across more than a century. The road is barely maintained, hemmed by dense forest with almost no lighting. Travelers at night report figures standing at the tree line who vanish the moment headlights strike them. No investigation has ever explained why death concentrates on such a short, insignificant stretch of road. A cursed road is terrifying because you might find yourself on it. But the next location is one you would have to seek out. And most who do wish they had not. Number 10. In the heart of Birmingham stands Sloss Furnaces. Founded in 1881, it produced pig iron until 1971. It is now a National Historic Landmark and museum. The foreman, James Wormwood, known as Slag, drove workers through 12-hour shifts with no breaks, paying them in scrip redeemable only at the company store. 47 men died under his watch. In 1887, a worker named Theophilus Jowers fell into the molten iron. In 1906, Wormwood himself met the same fate. Whether he slipped or was pushed remains an open question. His body melted instantly, but his presence never left. On the second floor, visitors hear a voice screaming orders. In 1971, a night watchman named Samuel Blumenthal was physically attacked by something he described as part man, part demon. A doctor confirmed the next day that he had been badly beaten. Birmingham police are still called to Sloss for unexplained disturbances. They come. They find no one. The disturbances continue. A furnace that devoured men and kept their spirits is a nightmare made real. But the next location involves a hole that refuses to stay filled. Number 9. Near Newton in Dale County, by the bridge over the Choctawhatchee River, there is a shallow depression in the earth. It has been there since the 1860s. Bill Sketoe was a Confederate soldier who left his post to care for his dying wife. Accused of desertion, he was hanged by the Dale County Home Guard. But Sketoe was tall, and his feet touched the ground. One of his captors dug a hole beneath his dangling feet to finish the job. His last words were a prayer for forgiveness. The body was removed, but the hole remained. People filled it in. The next morning it was empty, they filled it again, and it emptied again. This has continued for over 160 years. Scientists have found no geological explanation. The Earth refuses to forget what was done to Bill Sketoe. A hole that will not heal is disturbing enough. But the next location bears a face burned into glass that has watched a town for nearly 150 years. Number 8. The Pickens County Courthouse in Carrollton looks ordinary enough. But in the garret window, there is a face. It has been there since 1878. After the original courthouse burned in 1876, a formerly enslaved man named Henry Wells was accused. A mob gathered to lynch him. Wells stood at the upper window and proclaimed his innocence. Lightning struck. When the flash faded, his face was etched into the glass permanently. Attempts to wash it have failed. The pane has been replaced and the face returned. Scientists have examined the glass and offered no explanation. Henry Wells was never proven guilty. His face still watches the town square, morning and night. for longer than any living resident has been alive. A face frozen in glass is haunting, but the next location involves a plantation where the dead still light candles after dark. Number 7. Near the intersection of Cahawba Road and Oak Grove Road in Saraland, about 10 miles north of Mobile, sits a plantation home that locals have avoided for generations. The property dates to the antebellum era. 2 apparitions are regularly reported. The first is a white woman seen lighting candles in the windows of the main house, moving from room to room as if preparing for guests who will never arrive. The second is a man described as 7 feet tall, dark-skinned, walking the grounds and sometimes the road itself. Some locals believe he was the home's former bodyguard. Others say he was an enslaved person who died on the property. Their identities remain unknown. Their routines are consistent, night after night, year after year. She lights candles. He patrols. Beyond the property lies Bear Creek Swamp, where the strangeness deepens. Phantom headlights speed down the adjacent road and vanish into darkness. Floating orbs drift between the cypress trees. A small figure, roughly 4 feet tall, has been reported appearing directly in front of vehicles and disappearing on contact. People who grew up in Saraland all say the same thing. You do not go near Cahawba Road after dark. You do not stop your car. And you do not look in the rearview mirror. A plantation where the dead keep house is unsettling, but the next location needs no ghosts. The real history is horrifying enough. Number 6. Within Old Cahawba's grounds lies a buried atrocity. During the Civil War, a cotton warehouse was converted into a prison. Designed for a few hundred, it held 3,000 Union soldiers. The building sat on a floodplain. When the rivers rose, prisoners stood in waist-deep water. When disease came, there was no medicine. When men died, they were buried without markers. After the war, the prison was dismantled and forgotten. A full excavation has never been conducted. No one knows how many men lie beneath Old Cahawba. The headstones mark only a fraction. The rest are there, beneath the wildflowers and the silence. This is not a haunting. This is forgetting. A prison buried and forgotten stains the earth. But the next location involves a church where even the bravest refuse to enter. Number 5. Near Red Level in Covington County, at the intersection of Halso Mill Road and Oakey Street Road, there stood an abandoned church called Consolation. A church should be a place of sanctuary. Consolation was anything but. For decades, locals reported phenomena that read like pages from a medieval bestiary. Confederate soldiers were seen marching across the grounds in formation. Ghost children appeared among the cemetery headstones, playing silently between the graves. A shrieking wail, described by multiple witnesses as a banshee, echoed from inside the building after dark. Hellhounds with glowing red eyes were spotted prowling the perimeter of the cemetery. But the detail that unnerves people the most is the outhouse. If you stepped inside alone, the door would slam shut behind you. It locked from the outside. You could only get out if someone else came to let you free. In February 2015, the church burned to the ground. The cause was never officially determined. The adjacent graveyard survived the blaze completely untouched. Not a single headstone was damaged. According to locals who still live nearby, the sounds coming from the cemetery never stopped. The building is gone. Whatever occupied it may not be. A church overrun by hellhounds is medieval, but the next location is modern, and what happens there baffles everyone. Number 4. In Huntsville, Alabama, the oldest and largest cemetery holds a secret in its lowest hollow. Maple Hill Cemetery was established in 1818 and stretches across rolling hills shaded by ancient trees. In a low-lying section surrounded by limestone rock formations and dense tree cover on 3 sides, someone decided to build a playground, swings, a climbing frame, ordinary equipment for children. Except the children buried a few feet away died over a century ago. During the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, hundreds of children in this area perished. They were buried right here in Maple Hill, and at night, according to countless visitors across decades, those children come out to play. The swings move when there is no wind. Faint laughter drifts through the cemetery after dark. Small figures have been glimpsed darting between the headstones. In 2007, Huntsville officials announced plans to demolish the playground to make room for additional burials. The community erupted. Residents fought so fiercely that the city relented and rebuilt the playground on the exact same site. Its name on local maps and in common usage tells you everything you need to know. Dead Children's Playground. You can visit during the day. You can visit at night. The locals would strongly recommend the former. A playground haunted by children buried beneath it stays with you. But the next location is so forgotten, most Alabamians have never heard of it. Number 3. In DeKalb County, deep in the forested hill country of northeast Alabama, lies a place called Battelle. It was once a mining community. Families lived here. Men worked the coke ovens and iron furnaces that fed the state's industrial appetite during the late 1800s. Today, almost nothing about Battelle is documented. It does not appear in guidebooks. There are no historical markers pointing the way. The only road leading in is privately owned, and permission is required to enter. Even with permission, the terrain is hazardous, and the hike is not officially recommended. What remains are the crumbling skeletons of coke ovens from a bygone era, rusted machinery frozen in place, foundations of buildings that once housed workers and their families. The legend that clings to Battelle is grim. A man working near the furnaces lost his footing and fell into a vat of molten iron. His body was never recovered. Whether this is documented fact or local folklore passed down through generations is impossible to confirm, because Battelle has been so thoroughly forgotten that the records do not exist. What every visitor does confirm is the feeling. The silence is total. There is no mobile signal, no power lines, no evidence of the modern world in any direction. And the sensation of being watched begins the moment you step off the road. A town swallowed by silence is disquieting, but the next location is hiding in plain sight. Number 2. In Florence, in the northwest corner of the state, Sweetwater Mansion has stood for nearly 200 years. A caretaker reported seeing a casket appear in the parlor containing a Civil War soldier whose funeral had been held in this house over a century before. Doors open and close on their own. Objects are thrown across rooms. Children giggle in empty hallways. But the most disturbing detail is architectural. Deep within the house, there is a small room with no door. It is accessed only through a narrow interior window. Local legend says 2 sons of a former owner were buried beneath its floor. No excavation has been conducted. The floor remains undisturbed. Whatever lies beneath has been there for a very long time. A mansion with a sealed room is a Gothic nightmare. But our final destination may be the most unsettling place in Alabama. Number 1. At the very tip of a narrow peninsula at the mouth of Mobile Bay, surrounded by water on 3 sides and reached by just one road, stands Fort Morgan. It was completed in 1834 and named for Revolutionary War General Daniel Morgan. It is a star-shaped masonry fortress, one of the best preserved military structures in the entire United States. Original cannons still point toward the bay. A blacksmith shop, kitchens, and barracks remain intact. Beneath the walls, a network of tunnels stretches through the darkness. Fort Morgan has seen combat across 3 major American conflicts. During the Civil War, it was the site of the Battle of Mobile Bay in 1864, one of the most significant naval engagements of the war. It served as a military installation again during World War I and World War II. Soldiers from each of those conflicts lived within these walls, fought within these walls, and died within these walls. Today, visitors report experiences that military history alone cannot explain. Apparitions in period uniforms have been seen standing on the ramparts at dusk. The sound of boots marching in formation echoes through corridors where no one walks. Inside the tunnels, where daylight does not reach, visitors describe sudden and severe drops in temperature. And then, from somewhere deep within the stone, the distant boom of cannon fire from weapons that have not been loaded in over a century. Fort Morgan was built to protect the living, but the men who gave their lives defending it appear to have never received the order to stand down. The fortress sits there still, at the edge of the continent, surrounded by salt water and silence. You can walk the ramparts. You can descend into the tunnels. You can stand where 3 wars left their mark on the stone and on the air itself. And you can decide, as you walk back along that single road to the mainland, whether you were ever truly alone. If you like this video, please subscribe. Be sure to watch the next video that appears on the screen.